Graduating college is supposed to feel like one of those moments where everything just finally makes sense. You spend 4 years working towards that degree, preparing for your future, answering the same question over and over again. What are you going to do after graduation? And then graduation finally comes. You walk across the stage, you take the pictures, you celebrate with your friends and family. Then the next morning comes, and you're just realizing that now the rest of your life is just sitting in front of you. What am I supposed to do with it? For me, graduating college didn't really answer every question. In fact, it didn't really answer many of them at all. Honestly, in some ways, it created more. Where was I going to live? What kind of work did I actually want to do? Not just what my degree told me I should probably do. How was I going to make money? Where should I move out? What kind of business would I want to start? How did I want my future marriage, family, and life to look like? And probably the biggest question of all, who was I going to become now that school was over? Because before, my entire identity was in school and in everything that I was doing in school. So since graduating, I've moved back home. I started working full-time in landscaping with one of my buddies, taking on a lot more responsibility and started thinking about things a lot more seriously in regards to like my faith, my finances, relationships, business ideas, and my future. And I'm still at the beginning of that process. Definitely don't have everything figured out, to say the least. That's okay though. I've kind of accepted that because that's a part of it. There's 5 practical principles that I've already started learning in this season. And I think these principles can help anyone who feels lost, behind, uncertain, or even overwhelmed after college. And so the first one that I have is that you don't need to have your entire life figured out. You just need some kind of direction. And one of the biggest pressures that I felt while graduating was the belief that I needed to know exactly what I was going to do with the rest of my life. People ask what kind of job you're getting, where you're moving, what career you want to pursue, what your 5-year plan is, your long-term vision, your long-term goals. Sometimes it feels like everyone always has a clear answer while you're still trying to understand the question. And one of the biggest things I'm learning is that you don't need to have every detail figured out. You just need some kind of direction. You have to know where you're going. You have to know of an idea of how you can get to a certain destination. So there's never really a major difference between being directionless and being in a season of just discovering new things and discovering who you are. And it's important to recognize. It's important to be in that season. Now, being directionless means that you're drifting without intention. And this has been one of my biggest goals since coming home after college, is that I don't want to drift. I want to have some kind of direction and discipline in my life to where I'm not just floating around, right? And so being in this discovery phase, it means that you're moving, you're working, you're learning, you're experiencing, experimenting, and you're paying attention to what God is showing you pretty much. And I don't know exactly where landscaping will lead me. I don't know exactly what, all these business ideas I have will turn into. I don't really know whether my future will be coaching, business ownership, content creation, having a homestead. That's a dream of mine, is having like my own homestead with a family and raising a family there, or just a combination of like all of those things. I don't know what that will exactly look like, but I know the direction I want to move in. I want to grow closer to Christ. I want to become stronger, a better man, if you will, and I want to build meaningful work, meaningful purposes in my life. I want to serve people. I want to prepare for a marriage and a family. I just want to create a life that's intentional rather than the one that I just fell into, which is kind of what college does for you. And so this gives you something to work towards, even when you can't see the complete path, and that's okay. But leading to this second point, moving backwards on paper can actually move you forward in reality. Now, a lot of people will think that, there's a slip up in these systems that I've been pursuing for so long. They'll think that, you're going down this path and then you hit a rock or you hit a wall and then you just fall down and everything is just in shock and everything changes on you. And your initial thought is like, man, I've really failed. Where am I? Why have I gotten myself to this point? But we don't take the time to think that maybe this is a learning lesson, especially when you're so young, when you're fresh out of college. You have no experience. You have no experience with anything going on in your life. You have no experience with life at all. And so for you to go through these trials, to go through these seasons where you're going to fall on your face a little bit and something's going to happen that's going to make you realize all these different things about what you were pursuing and the direction that you're going in, that's a valuable thing. That's a valuable thing to learn, and it's all about experience. But so many people don't look at it like that. So if you're able to look at it like that, you are just far beyond so many other people in this life. And that's a blessing, to be able to look at it as a learning opportunity, because at the end of the day, that's all you can look at it as. Or you're just going to keep yourself set back. If you want to keep moving forward, you have to look at it as a learning opportunity, which is a great thing. The next principle that I have that I've learned is that real work reveals parts of your character that school just simply doesn't. College did teach me a lot. It taught me a little bit about business, about leadership, about strategies, about communication, about teamwork, deadlines, maybe even problem solving. But working full time, especially in like a really demanding job as what I'm doing right now, it's revealed to me things that a classroom really can never reveal to me. It really does expose your character. It's definitely exposed my character a lot. It reveals how you respond when you're tired. It reveals how they can rely on you or depend on you to get things done. It reveals your attitude when your conditions aren't ideal. There's so many things that working full-time can reveal to you about your character that hopefully you can learn from and that you can grow upon. Because at the end of the day, when you're not in school, you have a lot more responsibility. You have a lot more things that you now have to pursue that probably weren't even on your mind when you're in college. You're just kind of floating around having a good time. And that's part of it. But after college, it's all gone. All that the comfortability bubble that you're living in, you're kind of throwing yourself into the fire, and there's a lot of stuff coming at you. And you really have to decide, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to make the most out of this opportunity that God's given me? The next principle that I've learned is that your foundation matters more than the appearance of success. It matters far more than looking good. And man, I'll tell you, living in Nashville, there's so many people around here now that they love the appearance. They love to look good. After graduating, it becomes very easy to just compare yourself to everybody else. This is something I've struggled with personally. Social media has been a big factor in that too. You're always online looking at what other people are doing, looking at all these people getting these jobs. I'm posting on LinkedIn after school. Like, I'm extremely humbled and blessed to their, I don't mean to hate on. I don't mean to make fun of them, but you know how it is. You're on LinkedIn, you're scrolling, and you're on Instagram, you're looking at all these new things that people are pursuing, and it's like, well, I'm just chilling, like I don't got anything going on for me. Someone gets a high-paying job, someone moved to a new city, someone gets married, and all your friends are getting married on Instagram, and it's like, well, where's my wife at? And you don't know. But you got all these people that might be they look like they're living a life that you think you would want to have by now. And so that comparison mindset, it just keeps you kind of stuck. And it creates this temptation to just look successful before we even built a stable foundation about who we are. And that's what I've realized is far more important than having all this stuff. It's having a foundation of who you are as a person. All right, it's not always about what you do or what you have, but it's about who you are and who you're becoming. And I've learned that that's so valuable. And just having a good sense of mind, a peace of mind, and living a good life, and living a happy life, living a life of joy. Instead of comparing yourself to people all the time, you have to be content with who you are and understand who you're becoming, and just work on growing in that. But that's been a really important principle that I've learned, and hopefully you all can hone in on that. But this next principle is who you become is more important than how quickly you will arrive. Now, this principle is probably the most important one. It's easy to measure progress through these external factors, external accomplishments. You got your salary, you got your job title, a house, maybe, how much money you're making, how many followers you have on Instagram or Facebook, if you're married or not, all these things you have. And those things can be meaningful, but achieving something quickly doesn't always mean that you're ready for it. And sometimes we pray for opportunities that our current character can't necessarily carry. And we ask for leadership before learning humility. We ask for influence before developing wisdom. All these things that we pray about, yet we haven't allowed God to mold us into that person that deserves those things. We ask God to give us a future we want while resisting the process that we might have to endure in order to prepare us for that. And so I'm learning that this season of working, waiting, saving, and building, struggling to a degree, and just figuring things out, it's not wasted time necessarily, but it's forming me into who I need to be for the things that I want and that I desire in life. So every day, there's difficulties that can teach us things, right? Like endurance, humility, if you want to be a leader, maturity. And there's just seasons that can deepen our faith if we allow it to, if we open our minds to that. So God may be doing more in who you are becoming than you can currently see and what you're accomplishing. But you just have to be aware of that and understand that it's a part of the process. And so you can pray about these things, you can have an idea of what you want in life, but you have to allow yourself to endure through the suffering. Maybe you might be suffering, Maybe you might be in a season of just trials and tribulations, but you have to open yourself to be able to endure those things so you can grow from them. But the person those goals are creating matters far more. And those are my 5 principles that I've learned transitioning out of college that I want to share with you all. I'm still at the beginning of the season. I don't exactly know where every decision will lead to. I don't have a perfect plan necessarily. I'm not sharing these principles as someone who's already mastered them by any means. I'm just sharing them because it's what I'm learning right now. And I wanted to share that with you all as a part of my journey, and that way you can be along with me in this journey. And hopefully, maybe we're in similar seasons. I mean, hopefully you can learn from the season that I'm in, maybe help yourself out in the season that you might be in. But yeah, coming out of college has taught me that adulthood is not just a major moment that everything suddenly makes sense. It's a series of small decisions that just slowly shape who we're becoming. But the potential to begin rebuilding, growing, and moving forward hasn't disappeared. It's already within you, to be honest, and you just have to figure it out. You got to figure it out. I just really wanted to share these things with you all to hopefully help you in your season that you might be in. But that's all I got for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.